gagging on a gnat and swallowing a camel. That's what we talking about this domestic abuse, but you telling me that y'all was all in there doing meth and you're on parole?
So this defendant has been through this before, but his defense today is a unique one. He claims that everybody from the police all the way down to a small child are simply being untruthful about him and what happened. So take a look at how the parole board has to handle somebody who is in complete denial. My name is Dan. This is the Courtroom Files. Let's go to Louisiana. Say good morning to the board.
It's 8:49. The date today is the 9th day of April, 2026. We're at the Department of Corrections headquarters in Baton Rouge. The panel today consists of, to my left is Danny Barra, to my right is Pete Freeman, and my name is Steve Frater. We're going to be conducting parole hearings and parole revocation hearings this morning from this location to a number of different locations throughout the state. Staff, would you introduce yourselves, please?
Whitney Trustler.
Okay, thank you. Our first place that we'll be going is to Webster Bayou Dorchette, and it's a revocation hearing against Mr. Eddie Robinson. Is that you I'm looking at, Mr. Robinson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Deputy, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, sir. It's Major Culpepper.
Okay, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And let's see, Mr. Robinson, would you give us your DOC number, please?
414-582.
Okay, and your case is being handled by Mr. Barra, and he's going to be going over the your form that you signed and all that sort of thing with you, and see, make sure that you're ready for this hearing, and then we're going to have the hearing. So, Mr. Barra, it's yours to call.
All right, Mr. Robinson, I'm reviewing your summary of your preliminary hearing held with probation and parole, and it looks like they determined that you were not eligible for appointed counsel. So we're going to go ahead and proceed without appointed counsel. Have you hired a counsel to be with you?
No, sir. I was still waiting on the duration of the case. I don't think I need a counsel. I was just waiting until the charges, till I got them dismissed or whatever.
Okay, well, it looks like that you haven't got that far yet, but we're going to review the case anyway and see if you have violated, because the conviction is not the violation. The criminal behavior is what the violation would be.
Okay.
So we don't have to have that conviction. So let's start out. It's alleged that you have violated condition number 2 of your parole, that you submit monthly reports by the 5th of every month until you complete your supervision. You also report to the parole officer when directed to do so. Officer Blanchard read the violation and stated that you have failed to report for the months of October, November, December in 2024, and also in 2025, you failed to report for January, February, May, and June. Also, that parolee Robinson pled guilty and stated he was scared to report because he was using drugs and was afraid he would be put back in jail.
Yes, sir.
Is that still your statement today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Then the second violation is a violation of condition number 4. Says you're not engaged in criminal activity nor will associate with persons known to have been involved in criminal activity. You will avoid bars and casinos and will refrain from illegal use of drugs and alcohol. Parole officer reports that on 6/13/25, you were arrested for the offense of home invasion, domestic battery by strangulation, and domestic abuse battery with child endangerment. What do you have to say about that charge?
Those are the current charges that I'm still fighting right now. I'm innocent of those charges. That's the reason they are still ongoing, because I was going to take those matters to trial. The other March 30th, when I went to court, the DA had came up with a plea offer, a 3 more years probation, but I didn't get to hear it fluently while I was at court. So they set the matter out to May the 4th, because I was willing to fight those charges, because I was innocent of all those charges. And I'm only fighting one charge of home invasion, the domestic abuse battery and the child endangerment. I'm no longer fighting no charges. I'm only fighting one charge, home invasion. I'm innocent of the charge, and I'm currently going to court on that matter, sir.
And I see that that's also part of the file, that the victim assistance coordinator memo says that the DA only charged you with the home invasion and was, and has pending court date of May 4th.
Yes, sir.
The victim in the domestic abuse charges and the child endangerment, they were unable to locate, didn't respond to the letters. Okay, so it looks like the evidence was presented by Officer Blanchard in the form of a police report for the home invasion. And it says Officer Trevor Sashery stated that on May 23rd, 25, he was dispatched to 1207 3rd Street in Springfield, reference to a domestic disturbance in progress. As Officer Sashery made his right-hand turn onto 3rd Street, he observed a gray sedan to be traveling at a high rate of speed. Officers were then informed by the caller that the victim and the suspect were in the gray sedan and that the male subject forced the victim into the vehicle by her throat. After finding out this information, Officers Sashery began attempting to catch up with the vehicle, Officer Rodriguez. Officers reached speeds of 95 miles an hour trying to regain a visual on the vehicle, which was now southbound on Arkansas Street. Officer Sashery approached the vehicle. He noticed that the vehicle was occupied by a white female operator along with 3 small children. Officer Sashery approached the vehicle and spoke with the operator, who was identified as Shayna Smith Lewis. Shayna advised that she had been involved in a disturbance on 3rd Street with Eddie Robinson and that he had punched her in the face. Shayna stated that she did not remember much of the incident due to everything going white when she got hit, but stated that she did not think that he had choked her. When asked Shayna where Robinson was, she stated he had jumped out the vehicle near the railroad tracks and ran to the area, therefore explaining why the vehicle came to a sudden stop on Arkansas Street. Shayna stated that when Robinson saw the blue lights approaching, that he told her, "Let me out," and began crawling over her son, Bryson. While speaking with Shayna, officers noticed Shayna to have difficulty speaking due to her voice sounding raspy and sounding as if she could barely speak. Shayna had swelling on her face and had a hard time speaking, so officers called EMS to check her out. Officer Sashery spoke with Shayna's daughter, Jacelyn Lewis, who was seated in the right passenger seat, and asked her if she knew what happened. Jacelyn stated that they were at her mom's friend's house when the man showed up and began yelling at her mom and hitting her in the face. Jacelyn stated that the man then yelled at mom to get in the car and drive. But then the man jumped out the car and ran into the woods back there, pointing toward the railroad track. When asked, Shayna stated that she did not wish to press charges, but was advised by Spring Hill Police Department they would be picking up the charges on behalf of the state. Officers then went and got a witness statement from Janice Nipper. Janice Nipper stated that Shayna and her children were visiting when Robinson suddenly entered the residence without permission and knocking. Once inside the residence, Robinson cornered Shayna and began screaming at her before he punched Shayna with a closed fist in the face. Napier stated that following this, Robinson forced Shayna into the vehicle and screamed at her to drive. Nipper stated that Robinson was seated in the back seat on the driver's side and was holding Shayna by the neck as they departed the scene before the officers arrived. Nipper stated that she wished to press charges against Robinson for coming into her residence stating that Robertson has been repeatedly told not to come to her residence and has not been invited to come over on the night of the incident. The police issued warrants for Robertson. So that's the evidence we have. We'll listen to you and see what you gotta say.
Those charges were completely blew out of proportion by Ms. Janice Nichols. And she have contacted the DA with that she don't wish to pursue these charges, and that's currently what I'm going through right now in the court. That's what I'm going back May the 4th for. Hopefully get a dismissal of all these charges. I'm innocent of these charges. I didn't do it. The only thing that's true in there is that Shayna let me out the car because she told me Ms. Janice blew it out of proportion and had called the police for me to leave the resident. The other stuff, I didn't do none of the other stuff, and I'm going to court right now to prove that I'm innocent of everything that was presented in those police reports.
So you're saying that kid lied? 8-year-old kid?
I'm saying that the kid said that I punched Shayna in the face repeatedly. And Ms. Janice and Shayna said I only punched her one time with a closed fist. I'm saying that Ms. Janice told the kids in the house what to say. Shayna is the one that said, let's leave here because Ms. Janice called the police. I'm saying that everything in that police report, outside of me jumping out of the car because Shayna told me that the police were called, are not true. And that's the reason, and the charges are not, Shayna refused to press charges from the time that. Yes, sir.
That does not matter.
Did you go into Miss Nipper's house?
Oh, I was already there. I had been there all day. The charges are frivolous. You know, she asked me to leave, but I did not go into her house unauthorized, and I did not go in her house forcibly. I had been there all day. We was all in there using drugs. Those accounts did not happen. I did not punch her in the face. I did not do that with the kids. I told my PO, the only reason I didn't report is because we had been under the influence of methamphetamine I was using, and I felt like it was proper for me to come to jail because I had needed help with getting off drugs. I wrote the DA and I told the district attorney the account of what had happened too. It was a misunderstanding in the house while I was already in the house, but a home invasion and an unauthorized, sir, I did not do.
So it looks like everybody, Miss Nipper, Miss Shayna, the daughter, the police, everybody's lying, and the only one telling the truth is you, but you on drugs. So how do you remember what's true?
We was all on drugs. I'm saying I'm still of a sound mind. We was all on drugs. Me, Mr. Nils, and Shayna, we was all using drugs, and the kids were not in there to even see what happened in the room. It was just me, Miss Janice, and Shayna in a room by ourselves. That's what went on. The kids were not even in the room to even see if anything went on or not go on. I'm saying that Ms. Janice has contacted the DA to let them know that it was a misunderstanding. And when she told me to leave, the only reason she called the police car, she told me to leave. That was the problem, not me jumping on the lady in front of kids. I got kids. I never ever once been to jail for domestic abuse. And this is not my old lady or nothing like this. We was all just friends getting high. The real situation was behind me telling.
Let me interrupt you for just a second. We've seen one of my favorite verses in the Bible is that gagging on a gnat and swallowing a camel. That's what we keep talking about this domestic abuse, but you telling me that y'all was all in there doing meth and you're on parole?
Look, I needed help. I'm not the only parolee that's using drugs. I'm telling you the truth of the account.
Okay, I appreciate it. That's just all I wanted to know.
I'm just telling you the truth of what was going on. If anything, I needed some rehab, but I did not do a home invasion or none of that. I'm telling you the truth. Yes, I'm telling you that we was all in the house.
Let's move on.
I got one last question. Why run if you're innocent?
Sir.
I've never ran when I was innocent. I did a lot of bad things when I was young.
And you're right. I understand exactly what you're saying. But I was let out the car before it was even a police even on the thing. Shayna told me when we left the house. Me and Shayna left the house with her. She told me that I think Miss Denise called the police, so the police gonna be coming. She let me out the car. It wasn't no climbing over there or running out when it wasn't none of that. She let me out the car, and that's what it was.
I got one final question. How did you expect you'd ever get help if you wasn't gonna report to the parole officer?
But because I was in denial, sir, I needed help. My mom had been telling me I needed help, and I did. My parole officer even told me if you need anything or come talk with me. But I was in denial. Pride, kind of was in the way. Like I was figuring I could do it by myself. Like I had the thing figured out. Just like my fiance that's on camera. Pride had got in the way. I thought I could do it on my own and get off on my own, but I couldn't.
All right, thank you. I'll move for executive session.
You want to call Jennifer McCutcheon first?
Did you want to go there?
Oh, okay, never mind. I don't need executive session. I thought it was an executive session.
No.
All right, we'll call for testimony from Miss Jennifer McCutcheon.
Yes, sir.
All right, tell us what you know about this situation.
I do know that Eddie was, having a problem with meth. He was having a problem with meth, and over there, Miss Nippers has the house, and she's basically a lonely older woman that invites younger people over to do drugs. I don't do drugs. I understand. So she invites these people over to hang out and do drugs so she's not bored. And Eddie was not a meth user prior to him getting out of jail this last time. And he just met this Shayna girl, and she's been a user for a long time. And I think she was just trying to find somebody to, that interests her to do it with. And unfortunately, Eddie got caught up in that. And I know that he was not used to that stuff, and he it wasn't good for him. So he did a lot of stupid stuff. But I believe now that he, has his mind together and wants to definitely not go down that road again. And that's pretty much what I know about it.
All right, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else has a question?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Robinson,
Let me
I think we've heard enough of this one. It's basically you absconded supervision because you were on drugs. You admit that. You continued to use drugs while you were on parole, and you're a fifth offender. So I'm sure you had several periods of parole before to know that this is illegal and not approved. And for those simple reasons, I have no choice but to revoke your parole. I'm gonna order them to put you in some drug treatment while you're in there, so that when you get out, you'll be all right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree with it.
Can't get help if you don't go ask. You know what I mean?
Right. I need it. I'm saying I don't got a problem with this decision at all. I need it. I got a son at home that just born 6 months. I need all that I can help to be the best version of myself for my fiancée and my son and family. So I think this was a proper decision made.
But you gotta ask for it and agree to it. I can order it, but if you don't want to take it, they're not gonna.
I want it.
Do y'all have the treatment there at that facility?
Yes, sir, or else they'll be moved over to Bossier, one of the two.
Move him if you have to, but we want to get him into the treatment as soon as we can.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go.
Yeah, I vote. I find that he violated condition number 4 of his probation, order to revoke.
Okay, and I concur in violent motion, numbers 2 and.
The probation.
And we all concur with the recommendation of drug treatment.
All right, good luck to you. Hopefully you can
That's
fix
the
that
end of
problem.
this, hearing, 9:08, you are revoked.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip from TCF Live. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. And you can join us weekdays live, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, right here on this channel.